This season, you'll find out that Mary and Janelle were completely wrong about Coyote Pass.
Together in a little thing, and what you need to know and pay attention to is why there are
a lot of surprises, a lot of changes, and just new beginnings.
Real, honest situations that they're not going to want to tear their eyes away from. It's pretty spicy. I've learned to just have honest, direct communication.
I'm pretty vocal, and I am standing
More
up for
emotionally
myself.
whole.
Transformative, I guess maybe just beginning new things.
I've learned.
This season's fans can expect to see a little bit of joy, a little bit of pain, and maybe a little bit of closure.
Standing up for myself.
A lot of
like never before.
Okay, you're gonna see Kody and David together.
This season is going to bring the drama.
It's pretty spicy.
this season, I feel like I'm even stronger.
I find myself more emotionally
She was
whole.
to be his final faithful wife. His sole supporter remaining on her feet after Christine departed, after Janelle escaped, after Mary lost all hope. Robyn Brown, the wife who cried on camera, holding on to Kody's hand, promising that she still had faith in the plural marriage dream. But what if those tears were never tears of sorrow? What if the woman who the fans perceived as loyal was actually the most sinister of them all? Behind closed doors? Outside the cameras? What if Robyn was double-playing? A covert move to introduce a new wife, not to salvage polygamy, not to mend the family, but to kill Kody from the inside out. Tonight, we lift the veil of deception. This isn't merely another tale of sister-wives drama. This is the tale of how Robyn could have played Kody like a fool. Before we discover Robyn's master plan, before we show you how she could have played Kody like a fool, we need to go back to the very beginning of the end. Because the thing is, empires don't fall apart in one instant. They break down brick by brick, piece by piece, until nothing remains but dust. And that's just what occurred to Kody Brown's so-called kingdom. For several years, Sister Wives was more than a reality television series, it was Kody's prize. His validation to the world that his polygamy could be successful. He walked around with his head held high, boastfully flaunting his wives, his children, his vision of creating one large family. But dreams go bad when they're not founded on love. And Kody's dream? It was already rotting at the core. Christine Brown, bold, outspoken, a mother bear fiercely protective of her babies, was the first to bolt. For years she pleaded for affection, for respect, for even a small chunk of Kody's heart. And for years, he dismissed her, ignored her, demeaned her, until eventually, Christine got up and said, no more. Her choice shook the whole family. She wasn't merely leaving Kody, she was leaving the very foundation of polygamy itself. And when Christine left, she didn't turn around. She discovered fresh love, fresh liberty, and with it, she laid bare the fissures in Kody's skillfully engineered persona. Then there was Janelle. The reliable one. The voice of reason. The wife who always had the books in balance and the children on the ground. Janelle was never the dramatic one. She wasn't hot-headed like Christine, nor introverted like Mary. She was down to earth. But even down-to-earth women have their breaking point. And for Janelle, the breaking point was when she accepted that Kody's need to control had stifled her independence. Her quiet strength became quiet rebellion. She began making her own decisions, making her own money, and not catering to Kody's ego. And when she finally bid adieu, it was like observing the second pillar of the Brown clan crumble into dust. And then, of course, there was Mary. The first wife. The lady who had been humiliated in public before millions when Kody confessed that he no longer loved her. For years, Mary clung on to shreds of a marriage that was no more. She went through rejection after rejection, until even she, the longest clinging wife, saw that she was only clinging to shackles. Mary walked away, not with fireworks, not in anger, but with the quiet dignity of a woman who had been rejected one too many times. 3 wives gone. 3 marriages reduced to ashes. And what remained? Kody Brown, surveying the ruins, his polygamy crown at his feet in ruins. And beside him, the sole wife who had not deserted him. Robyn. The cameras captured her weeping. They captured her shattered, heartbroken, pleading for plural marriage to live on. Viewers witnessed the tears, the shaking voice, the pleading words. But here's the question no one could shake, were those tears genuine? Or were they part of something a lot more sinister? Because while the world was viewing Robyn as the victim, what if she was actually the mastermind? What if she wasn't standing with Kody because of loyalty, but because of strategy? What if Robyn was playing a game already, one that Kody couldn't perceive? This is where the journey starts. Kody's desperation, when Christine, Janelle, and Mary had all left, Kody Brown was more than a man with crumbling marriages. He was a man with bruised ego. For years, he flaunted himself on the national television as the self-assured patriarch of a plural family. He boasted to the world that he was powerful enough, charismatic enough, and spiritual enough to maintain 4 marriages simultaneously. But truth had left him naked. When Christine departed, the world witnessed a man who no longer enjoyed the respect of his wives. When Janelle departed, the world witnessed a man who no longer enjoyed financial security. And when Mary departed, the world witnessed a man who no longer enjoyed even the illusion of being wanted. Kody wasn't alone. He was desperate. The mask of confidence on TV, Kody attempted to maintain the mask. He puffed out his chest. He ranted about being loyal. He claimed that polygamy failed because his wives weren't making enough of an effort. Behind the bluster, though, viewers saw something else. His rage wasn't strength, it was fear. His shouting wasn't authority, it was insecurity. His fixation on control had nothing to do with leadership, it had to do with survival. For the first time in years, Kody wasn't the one giving the orders. He was the one watching everyone else exit. And when men like Kody lose control, they cling. Clinging to Robyn wasn't just his fourth wife. She was his lifeline. Kody let everyone know that Robyn was his soulmate. He leaned on her, fixated on her loyalty, and employed her as evidence that he hadn't totally failed. But here's the irony, in placing Robyn on a pedestal, Kody exposed just how broken he actually was. Rather than being a strong plural family leader, he turned into a man afraid of losing the last individual who put up with him. And that type of fear is dangerous. Because when a man is afraid of losing everything, he'll believe anything. The email that changed everything then had happened. Kody sat down with Robyn and revealed something shocking. He had received an email. A message from a woman who wanted to join the family. A woman willing to become a new wife. For Kody, it was like water to a dying man in the desert. Here was evidence that his fantasy wasn't at an end. That he could rebuild. That he could emerge from the ashes of his broken marriages and prove to the world that polygamy wasn't dead. But for Robyn, it wasn't. The cameras picked up her response. Tears filled her eyes. She shook her head, her voice cracking as she admitted she couldn't stand the idea of another wife. Audiences at home believed they were seeing a heartbroken woman afraid to have a husband. But some fans took a closer look. Her words shook, but her eyes seemed calculating. As if she wasn't grieving the loss of polygamy, but weighing the potential of something else entirely. A man blind with pride Kody didn't notice. He was too blinded by pride, too drunk on the notion of vindicating himself once more. For Kody, another wife wasn't companionship, it was vindication. He needed to prove Christine wrong. He needed to prove Janelle wrong. He needed to prove Mary wrong. He needed to prove the world wrong. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was still the man he said he was, a leader, a patriarch, a husband who could create the polygamous dynasty he once boasted of. But hope makes blind. And while Kody was gazing at the bright promise of a new wife, he never paid attention to danger lurking beside him. Robyn's tears every time Robyn sobbed, Kody hastened to console her. He explained it to her. He explained that he knew. He explained that she was special, that he didn't mean to hurt her. But consider it. Suppose those tears were not fright, but bait. Suppose every sob, every shattered whisper, every shaking sentence was intended to keep Kody in the dark. What if Robyn had understood something way before he did, that a desperate man will do anything? If you just convince him it's his idea? The double game set up by the end of that meeting, Kody wasn't doing any thinking about betrayal. He wasn't doing any thinking about strategy. He was thinking about salvation. To him, a new wife equated hope. It equated redemption. It meant showing the world he wasn't a failure. But in Robyn's mind, a new wife was a whole different thing. It was opportunity. Because if she played it right, Robyn wouldn't be only Kody's last wife. She'd be the wife who made his last chance his ultimate defeat. And as Kody was smiling over rebuilding his fantasy, Robyn might have already been scheming how to dismantle it. Kody believed Robyn was his safe zone. His anchor. His final soldier standing. But in truth, she might have been sharpening the blade. The question isn't if Kody was desperate. Everyone knew that. The question is, what did Robyn see? And what did she do with that desperation? The new wife theory, every great downfall begins with a choice that is harmless seeming. For Kody Brown, it was opening an email. An email from a stranger. A woman who had said she wanted to be part of the family. A new possible wife. For Kody, this message wasn't an opportunity, it was vindication. Evidence that his polygamist fantasy still had legs. That even after 3 divorces and a damaged reputation, there was someone out there who wanted to be part of his so-called kingdom. But to Robyn, that letter meant something different. To Kody, it was a glimmer of hope. To Robyn, it was a club to wield. And this is where the new wife theory takes shape. Polygamy or power? At first glance, Robyn's response seemed predictable. She cried. She informed Kody she didn't want to have to share him. She said her heart couldn't take another wife. To the audience, it seemed like tears of a woman stuck in a failed dream, afraid of repeating history. But what if it wasn't that? What if Robyn's reluctance had nothing to do with heartbreak? What if it had to do with timing? Because the truth is, Robyn is no dummy. She has seen all the wives that came before her leave. She has learned Kody's vulnerabilities. She knows how delicate his ego is, how easily his pride can be manipulated. And so when that email arrived, Robyn might have seen something Kody could not, the opportunity to finally get their story back. The perfect trap. Kody, hoping to rebuild his empire, convinces himself that a new wife will save him. But in place of an enemy, Robyn has an accomplice. Someone she can train. Someone she can connect with. Someone she can secretly align against Kody. The cameras would be recording the superficial drama, Kody beaming with phony confidence. Robyn crying crocodile tears over her fears. The new wife stepping into the limelight as another piece in his kingdom. But behind the cameras, something different would be occurring. Secrets. Whispers. A silent partnership. Robyn and the new wife would never be rivals, they would be partners. Partners in a scheme that Kody, desperate and blinded, would never even dream of. The psychology of control. In order to get why this theory works, you must comprehend one thing, Kody's need for control. He's always thought he was the hub of the Brown family. The leader. The one holding it all together. But the day that Christine, Janelle, and Mary walked away, that fantasy was destroyed. Kody had to feel powerful again. Kody had to feel desired. And when that email came, it fed right into his fantasy, that somebody still wanted him. That somebody still believed in him. It was the perfect setup. Because while Kody believed he was going to add yet another faithful wife, Robyn might have known she was going to gain something far more precious, clout. With a fourth woman on her team, she could permanently tip the scales. She could use the one thing that Kody cherished most, control, and turn it around on him. The hidden agenda. Imagine the dialogue that TLC never brings you. Robyn taking the new wife aside, whispering. "You don't have to battle me," she might tell her. "We don't have to compete with each other for him. We need to care for one another. We need to care for ourselves." And gradually, the new wife starts to perceive the cracks in Kody's mask. His temper. His ego. His blindness. The competition Kody anticipated never occurs. Rather, the two women create an unspoken alliance. One stronger than his hold on either of them. For years, Kody kept his wives separated for control. But in this situation, the one thing he most dreads starts to take shape, oneness. Robyn and the new bride. Two women, one union. And one man too proud to notice it developing right before his eyes. The power shift. And here's the kicker. If Robyn's double game paid off, she wouldn't merely survive the introduction of a new wife, but flourish in it. Together, she and her co-conspirator could disrupt Kody's leadership behind closed doors, dictate finances, affect the kids, and eventually make Kody the outsider in his own home. Imagine it, the self-styled patriarch, brought low to a pawn in his own home. As Kody puffed out his chest and assumed leadership, Robyn and her minion would subtly tighten their control, until the moment arrived when he realized he was no longer leading. And then, it would be too late. The suspense builds. Kody believed that the email was his rescue. But what if it was the start of his destruction? What if, rather than resurrecting his fantasy of polygamy, it ignited the final betrayal? A betrayal not by an ex-wife. Not by a stranger. But by the woman he most trusted. And the newest wife he believed would rescue him. That's the essence of the new wife theory. And if true, then Kody never stood a chance. Because the game was not about loyalty. The game was not about rebuilding. The game was not even about polygamy. It was about revenge against Robyn. And in this game, Kody was never the player. He was the fool. The secret alliance. Every empire falls the same way. Not through the strength of its enemies, but through betrayal from within. And in the Sister Wives universe, that betrayal doesn't include armies or swords. It includes whispers. Whispers behind doors. Whispers when the cameras stop rolling. Whispers between two women who, rather than become enemies, become friends. This is the core of the secret pact. The tie that could make Robyn's tears a tool. The agreement that might convert Kody's final opportunity into his ultimate downfall. The illusion of rivalry. Kody has always thrived on division. For decades, his strength as a polygamist husband derived not from love, but rivalry. Each wife vying for his attention. Each one wanting his approval. Each one compared to the others. Divide and rule. It was the basis of his dominance. But then what if the divide fails? What then if the women he is sure are his enemies turn to each other and see they feel the same pain? The same fury? The same bitterness? That's where the covert pact is formed. Two women who are meant to be adversaries, opting instead to stand as one. Behind the tears. Remember that scene when Robyn wept at the prospect of a new wife. At first glance, it was sorrow. The picture of a woman grieving the loss of her fantasy. But what if those tears were not for fear of competition? What if they were for making it easier? By looking weak, by making Kody believe she was hesitant, Robyn could get him to think the new wife was his doing, his triumph. And once she entered the family, the scheme could begin. Because while Kody thought he was acquiring another woman to worship him, he was actually bringing in his own replacement squad. The Whisper Network, picture the gossip the cameras never recorded. Robyn sitting across from the new wife in the stillness of Coyote Pass. Her voice soft. Her tone consoling. "You don't have to battle me," she may whisper. "I know what he does. I know how he is with us. You and I. We can look out for each other." In that instant, the seeds of treachery are sown. The new wife, anticipating hostility and jealousy, finds instead solidarity. A partner. A confidant. And so, they start opening up to one another. The yelling. The manipulation. The constant favoritism. And now, Kody's biggest threat, competition, is erased. Because now, rather than fighting over him, they're plotting against him. The slow erosion, betrayal isn't something that occurs in one fiery instant. It occurs gradually, as water wears on stone. Initially, it is subtle. Kody makes a decision, and the women quietly acquiesce, then do something else behind his back. He thinks he's in charge, but they're actually guiding him where they want him to go. Then it gets bolder. Money decisions start slipping away from his grasp. Home life changes. The kids stop listening to him and begin to follow the cue of their mothers. And last, he comes to realize, in belated shock, that his authority is lost. Not robbed from him in one sensational coup, but chipped away incrementally, by the coalition he never perceived forming. Kody the outsider, imagine, the so-called patriarch, the fellow who used to flaunt having 4 wives, alone in his own house. People talking around him, not with him. People making decisions without him. Laughter he doesn't understand. He looks at Robyn, believing she's still on his side. He looks at the new wife, believing she still admires him. But behind their eyes, a silent pact has already been made. And that's when the cruelest realization hits him. For decades, he divided his wives to maintain control. But now, the wives are united. And he's the one left divided. The intruder within his own household. The perfect betrayal, what is so strong about this theory, is how well it fits the psychology of Robyn's alleged loyalty. For isn't that the ultimate revenge? Allowing Kody to think he has won, allowing him to think his dream lives on, allowing him to prance around as patriarch again, while stealthily deconstructing his authority from within. Not with yelling, not with divorce papers, but with quiet, with patience, with strategy. A betrayal so thorough, so devastating, that by the time Kody understands what's going on, it's already finished. And he can't do anything about it. So ask yourself, was Robyn crying because she was afraid of a new wife? Or was she crying because she already knew what she'd do with one? Was she grieving the loss of polygamy? Or grinning at the dawn of her own private empire? That's the chilling question of the secret alliance. And if it's true, then Robyn Brown isn't the last wife standing. She's the last wife scheming. And Kody Brown never had a chance. Kody's blind spot, every downfall starts with a blind spot. A blind spot so glaring that everyone else can see it. But not the women it kills. For Kody Brown, his blind spot has always been the same. His ego. An ego that led him to think he was bulletproof. An ego that led him to ignore red flags from his wives. An ego that assured him he was the hero of this tale, even as the walls of his empire came crashing down around him. And in the end, it was that same blind spot that made him vulnerable to the double game playing out right before his eyes. The illusion of control. Kody has always equated control with love. If the wives were obedient to his rules, it meant they were loyal. If his kids looked up to him, it was because they honored him. If the family held together, it was because he succeeded. But this was never love. It was management. It was control masquerading as leadership. And the thing is, control is anemic. Because the instant people see that they don't need it, it dies. Christine saw it first. Janelle saw it second. Mary saw it last. But Kody never saw it at all. Rather, he rationalized that control could be rebuilt, that with Robyn by his side, and perhaps even a new wife to follow him, he could regain his shattered image. But that was his blind spot, merging control with loyalty. Merging fear with love. Merging obedience with respect. The echo chamber. Kody's other dead limit's flaw was isolation. When Christine departed, he didn't think. He struck. When Janelle departed, he didn't hear. He dismissed. When Mary departed, he didn't say sorry. He mocked. And in the midst of it all, Robyn became his echo chamber. She wept when he wept. She raged when he raged. She leaned in her ear and whispered to him the things he wished to hear. And that is what made her so perilous. Because while Kody believed Robyn was on his side, she was watching him. She knew all the triggers. All the insecurities. all the blind spots. And from that knowledge, she determined her greatest strength. The children speak. Kody's blind spot wasn't limited to his wives. It was to his children too. The children could see what he couldn't. They could see the favoritism, the neglect, the father who yelled more than he heard. Again and again, his older children faced him. They informed him he wasn't there for them. They informed him he had left them behind for Robyn's home. But rather than listening to their hurt, Kody doubled up. He said they were ungrateful. He said they were brainwashed by their mothers. He said he was the victim. And with each justification, he drove them away. This was his second blind spot, assuming his children would always return, regardless of how he mishandled them. But children are not pawns. They get older. They recall. They decide their own loyalties. And a lot of them decided not to stand with Kody. Which meant when it was finally time for Robyn's master plan to get underway, Kody's support pool was smaller than ever. His wives were absent. His kids were aloof. And the only individual remaining whispering in his ear was the one individual who perhaps had been conspiring against him. The mask of arrogance, to observers, Kody's conceit appeared to be confidence. He yelled at gatherings. He threw fingers. He ridiculed the wives who departed from him, indicating that they never genuinely considered polygamy. But conceit is fear covered up. Each tantrum. Each jeer. All the chest-thumping declarations that he was the head of his household. It was all a facade. A facade covering up the truth that he was afraid of losing it all. And what do desperate men do when they are afraid? They hold on tighter. They scream louder. They close their eyes to reality. That was Kody's blind spot. And Robyn saw it with perfect clarity. Because while the world witnessed him puffing his chest out, Robyn witnessed the cracks building underneath. And she knew all she needed to do was allow him to continue believing in the mask. The fatal confidence in his head, Kody believed he still held the reins. He believed Robyn's crying indicated loyalty. He believed a new wife indicated worth. He believed control could be remade with enough rules, enough yelling, enough pride. But he never recognized what was actually occurring. Behind his back, the infrastructure of his family was redistributing. The power shifts were realigning. The factions he once managed were betraying him. And why? Because he never once questioned himself. He never once took time to think that perhaps he was the issue. That was his blind spot. His ego. His not wanting to look inward. And that blind spot was what provided Robyn with the opportunity she was looking for. Kody felt he was the leader of his narrative. But what if he was merely the puppet? What if each choice he believed was his was gently pushed into position by Robyn? What if his blind spot wasn't simply arrogance, but trust? Faith in the one person who might have been manipulating him since day one? That's the creepy reality of Kody's blind spot. Not only that he didn't see the betrayal coming, it's that he never even thought about betrayal being an option. And by the time he did, it would already be too late. The betrayal, every story builds to a moment of truth. A breaking point. A betrayal that rocks everything. For Kody Brown, that moment wasn't explosive. It wasn't a burning argument on television. It wasn't even an action. It was the creeping dawning that the empire he believed he was reassembling had already fallen. And the one who was swinging the hammer was the one woman he trusted above all. The setup, Kody thought the arrival of a new wife would be his deliverance. Another partner to legitimize his fantasy. Another woman to confirm that polygamy was not dead. Another opportunity to demonstrate to the world that he was still the patriarch, still the leader, still the boss. But in secret, something else was taking place. Robyn was not getting ready to roll out the red carpet for arrival. She was getting ready to bring on a partner. The woman Kody believed would bring back his family was really the last fragment of Robyn's puzzle. The silent shift, in the beginning, the betrayal was unseen. So subtle, so quiet, that even the cameras wouldn't detect it. Robyn and the new wife connecting in secret. Sharing looks when Kody talked. Giving each other reassurance when he stormed. Gradually, the dynamic evolved. Where Kody had thrived before on competition, now he was confronted with something he couldn't manage, harmony. Two women, standing united. Two women, making decisions secretly. Two women, sharing secrets Kody never wanted to be heard. And for the first time, Kody wasn't in control. He was the one being manipulated. The cracks widened, the betrayal became brasher with each passing day. Money decisions started sliding out of Kody's grasp. Planning for the kids' futures occurred without consulting him. And each time Kody attempted to regain control, the women pushed back, not in open rebellion, but in patience. They nodded. They smiled. They made him feel that he was calling the shots. And then they did things their way. To Kody, it seemed like cooperation. To Robyn, it was strategy. And to the newest wife, it was freedom. Together, they created something Kody never thought was possible, a family that could do better without him. There's a breaking point to every betrayal. For Kody, it was the day he realized his voice no longer mattered. He called a family meeting. He established his rules. He commanded obedience, loyalty, and respect. But there was silence in the room. Robyn cast her eyes down. The new wife sat quietly, hands in a prayer-like position, not even feigning agreement. And in the silence, Kody felt something he had never experienced before. Irrelevance. He could scream. He could threaten. He could march out. But the reality was plain. His words were no longer of consequence. His dominance had disappeared. His patriarchal role was dead. The betrayal revealed, in that moment, the betrayal was complete. Robyn, the wife he thought was loyal. The soulmate wife. The wife who cried before the camera, promised she still had faith in his vision. She was not standing behind him. She was standing with the new wife. And they were not shielding Kody. They were shielding themselves. The competition he relied on had become an association. The loyalty he insisted on had become resistance. The control he held on to had escaped his grasp. And the man who had once boasted of being the head of the family was now the idiot in his own tale. The aftershock, Kody's fall, was not a single dramatic betrayal. It was death by 1,000 cuts. A smile here. A look there. A decision without him. Each one small, nearly unnoticeable. But collectively, they created the blade that brought him down. And the worst part? He never saw it coming. Because his blind spot, his ego, his arrogance, his desperation, wouldn't let him accept that Robyn was capable of betrayal. He believed she was loyal. He believed she was broken. He believed she was his last soldier standing. But in truth, she was the one plotting the rebellion. And before he knew it, it was too late. So let me ask you this. Was Robyn's betrayal planned all along? Or was it born of survival, hammered out in the ruins of a crumbling empire? Was she the victim? Or the mastermind? The last wife standing? Or the last wife scheming? What we do know is this: Kody Brown believed he was the player. But ultimately, he was the one who was being played. And the betrayal that brought his empire crumbling down wasn't loud. It was silent. Patient. Perfect. The type of betrayal only Robyn could provide. The aftermath: every storm leaves wreckage in its wake. And for Kody Brown, the aftermath of betrayal was not a moment, it was an unraveling. The man who once stood in the middle of a sprawling brood now found himself on the outside looking in. The flockless patriarch. The loyalty-less husband. The respect-less father. This was the real cost of Robyn's double life. The financial fallout: money has long been the heart of the Brown family saga. The property at Coyote Pass, the joint assets, the constant arguments over mortgages and boundaries. Kody used to think he was the family's money man. He had the documents. He scheduled the sit-downs. He thought every dollar decision went through him. But after the betrayal, that fantasy evaporated. Suddenly money decisions weren't up to him anymore. Bank accounts changed. Titles and deeds passed into other hands. And little by little, Kody understood that the land he had envisioned as his empire was eluding him. Robyn, ever cautious, ever reserved, took a stand to guard what was most precious to her children. And Robyn and the newest wife, the new alliance, ensured Kody's hold weakened day by day. By the time the dust had cleared, the man who boasted of constructing homes for 4 wives was threatened with the loss of the roof above his head. The emotional ruin, but the financial cost wasn't the greatest price. The emotional devastation was even more heartbreaking. For years, Kody had assumed his children would forgive him. That regardless of how mad they were, regardless of how abandoned they felt, they would return. But betrayal seeps into old wounds easily. When Christine departed, many of the children took her side. When Janelle turned away, even more grew further apart from him. And now, in the wake of Robyn's secret pact, the younger ones started to understand what the older ones had been talking about all this time. Their father wasn't the leader. He wasn't the protector. He wasn't even the man he said he was. He was a ghost. And one by one, the children learned to survive without him. Robyn's transformation, and what of Robyn? To the world outside, she continued to act out the role of the mourning wife. Tears streaming, words shaking, protesting that she never wanted this result. Behind those tears, though, she had already undergone a change. She was no longer merely the last wife standing. She was the controlling wife. With the new alliance by her side, she no longer required Kody's approval. She no longer required his dictation. She no longer even required his love. For years, Robyn had been the puppet, Kody's pet, the one who curtsied to his every command. But in the wake of it, it was made clear, the puppet had severed her strings. And the man tugging on them had no clue. Kody's isolation: picture this, Kody, by himself in Coyote Pass. The land vacant. The dream incomplete. The wives departed. The kids far away. The cameras capture him pacing, ranting, swearing he's still the head. But the reality is irrefutable. Kody Brown is no longer the center. He is not even on the circle. He's on the other side of it, banging on the glass, wanting to be let back in. But nobody's listening. And that's where the betrayal really happens. Not only that Robyn might have outmaneuvered him. Not only that a new wife might have come onto her side. But that, ultimately, no one needed him. The family continued without him. The narrative continued without him. The empire fell apart without him. And Kody Brown, the fellow who used to think he was invincible, was left with nothing but echoes. The inevitable question, so what does the aftermath really mean? For some, it is justice. The wives he ignored gaining freedom. The children he ignored gaining independence. The man who controlled everything finally losing control. For others, it is tragedy. A father severed from his family. A husband left by everyone he ever loved. A man too blinded by pride to realize his own downfall. And for Robyn? Victory. Not the victory that you're going to celebrate with confetti. But the quiet victory of making it through. The victory of waiting. The victory of playing the long game. The victory of being underestimated until too late. The aftermath isn't so much about what Kody lost. It's about what Robyn gained. And in the stillness of Coyote Pass, where promises once rang out, stands only this, Kody Brown. Finally outmaneuvered. But here's the eerie question. Was this the inevitable outcome? Or was it choreographed? Was Robyn just weathering the downfall of a disintegrating family? Or was she engineering the downfall from the get-go? That's the riddle of the aftermath. And if the response is the latter, then Kody's tale isn't merely a story of failure. It's a tale of betrayal so pure, so perfect, that he never stood a fighting chance. Fan theories, after the betrayal, it all comes down to this: the Brown family's story doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to the fans. Millions of fans who have watched this saga for over a decade. Millions of voices that have analyzed each episode, each cry, each argument. Millions of speculations on what is going on behind the scenes. And when it's about Robyn's duplicitous game, the fan speculation is as good, as messed up, and as divisive as the narrative itself. The Puppet Master, one of the favorite fan theories is that Robyn was never a victim, but rather was always the puppet master, orchestrating her image, employing her tears as a means of defense, and gradually positioning herself in a place of supreme authority. A fan posted on Reddit, "Robyn cries on cue. She knows just when to flip on the waterworks. It's not weakness. It's strategy." Another tweeted during a reunion show, "Kody believes he's in control, but he's been doing years' worth of dancing to Robyn's tune." The Puppet Master theory gives Robyn no tears, but rather gives her the silent cloak of blame for the downfall of polygamy. The survivor, not everyone considers Robyn the villain. Another camp of fans argues that Robyn isn't the mastermind, she's the survivor. They point out that Robyn joined a family already filled with cracks. Christine's jealousy, Janelle's independence, Mary's broken trust, these problems existed long before Robyn arrived. According to this theory, Robyn didn't destroy the Brown family. She simply outlasted it. As one fan posted, Robyn didn't break the family. The family was already broken. She's just the only one who remained. In this interpretation, Robyn isn't seeking revenge. She's just playing the hand she was given, and doing whatever it takes to keep herself and her children safe. The double game, but then there's the third theory. The one that sends fans shivering to their core. The double game. This theory suggests that Robyn has been playing both ends against the middle the whole time. To Kody, she is the faithful, bereaved wife, the sole remaining soldier, the one who still hopes for him. Behind his back, however, she secretly allies herself with whoever will serve her interests, even a new wife. The brilliance of the double game is its subtlety. Robyn never needs to directly defy Kody. She never needs to raise her voice. She just allows his ego to blind him, while she constructs her own safety net behind the scenes. As one viewer suggested, Robyn doesn't need to exit Kody. She just needs to ensure she's safe when he explodes. And if that is the case, then Robyn isn't just getting by. She's winning. The long con, a more radical theory, goes a step further. The long con, certain fans feel Robyn's scheme did not begin with the email regarding a new wife. It began the day she became a member of the family. Consider this. She came in as the fourth wife, immediately changing the dynamics. She was the legal wife, having authority that none of the others could claim. She arranged adoption for her children, ensuring they would have a future in the family business. And in time, she placed herself not as one among many, but as the sole one remaining. To proponents of the long con theory, every move was calculated. Every tear. Every pause. Every call for togetherness. Not weakness. Not survival. But strategy. One follower penned, "Robyn played the longest game in sister wives history. She didn't just outlast them. She eliminated them. A chilling premise, if true. The debate, these speculations have fueled heated debate among the fans. Is Robyn a master manipulator? Or a survival survivor? Is she the villain of the series? Or is she just the last woman left standing when the dust settled? Whatever the case, one thing is clear, the discussion about Robyn Brown is more vocal than ever. Each episode, each clip, each leaked rumor gives rise to a new wave of speculation. And in that speculation, a truth arises. The fans are not merely observing the narrative anymore. They are crafting it. With their hypotheses, their remarks, their repeated arguments. Fans have made Robyn the most divisive character throughout the entire Sister Wives experience. So what theory is correct? Was Robyn always the puppet master, manipulating from behind the scenes? Was she merely the survivor, holding on to the ruins of a failed family? Was she the double agent, working for both sides until Kody fell over? Or has she been pulling the long con since the very beginning? We might never find out. But one thing is certain. Robyn Brown is now the axis around which the Brown family drama revolves. And whether she's the villain, the survivor, or the mastermind, she's left Kody standing in the ashes of his own kingdom. And that is a twist even the fans didn't anticipate. The final twist, every good story has a turning point. A moment when everything you thought you knew, changes. For the Brown family, their turning point isn't just the downfall of polygamy. It isn't simply Christine's autonomy, Janelle's independence, or Mary's leaving. The last plot twist is Robyn. Because although Kody spent decades stating he was the leader, the patriarch, the hub of it all, it was perhaps Robyn who had been wielding the real power the entire time. And if that is the case, then everything we believe about Sister Wives is different. The illusion of loyalty, Robyn was typed up as the loyal one from the very start. She was the wife who fought for Kody. The wife who wept when the others contradicted him. The wife who pledged she believed in his vision, even when it broke apart. But loyalty is a facade. And facades can conceal anything. What if Robyn's loyalty didn't go to Kody? What if it went to her? Suppose all the tears, all the words, all those thoughtful pauses of silence were created not to be in favor of Kody, but to safeguard Robyn's future. That's the first level of the ultimate twist, the question of whether loyalty was the act. The power of position. Let's recall one thing that makes a difference. Robyn is not merely a wife. She's the legal wife. The one whose marriage was sanctioned by the state. The one whose kids were adopted by Kody. The one whose financial connection was tighter, deeper, and more binding than anyone's else. While Christine, Janelle, and Mary shared spiritual marriages that could be undone with a discussion, Robyn had documents, agreements, signatures, rights. And in the realm of power, paper is greater than vows. This was the second level of the ultimate twist. Robyn wasn't merely another wife. She was the only one whose place afforded her power outside of emotion. Which meant that when the family broke apart, Robyn wasn't just standing with Kody. She was standing over him. The shift of symmetry, polygamy was always intended to be about balance. For wives, a single husband. Shared love. Shared burdens. Shared lives. But what actually happened was, there never was any balance. Christine was pushed to the sidelines. Janelle was treated as the accountant, not the business partner. Mary was embarrassed and dismissed. And Robyn? She was promoted. Initially, it looked like favoritism. But the more you see, the more it looks like tactics. By taking out balance, by taking out symmetry, Robyn built a new framework. A framework where she could not be touched. And in the wreckage of that disparity is the third level of the final revelation. Robyn wasn't just surviving polygamy. She was redefining it. The ultimate question, so we find ourselves here. The wives are gone. The kids are far away. The dream is over. And what's left? Robyn. But not the Robyn we thought we knew. Not the tearful victim of an imploding marriage. Not the dainty wife pleading for togetherness. The Robyn that's left is something else. A planner. A survivor. Perhaps even the mastermind behind the collapse itself. And that is the ultimate twist. That what happened in Sister Wives was not actually about Kody's domination. It was about the silent ascendancy of Robyn. The reversal of roles Kody used to announce himself as head of the household. The man in charge. The head of the Brown dynasty. But compare the pieces now. Kody, alone and furious, walking back and forth on Coyote Pass. Robyn, serene, tranquil, and still at home. The man who attempted to assume power? Powerless. The woman who acted as if she was powerless. With all the power. The turnaround is complete. And it's so beautiful, so poetic, that it actually seems deliberate. Because if Robyn played the long game, if she really masterminded this collapse, then Kody wasn't only betrayed. He was outmaneuvered, outplayed, and left standing as the fool of the empire he thought he created. So we do what we do with this twist? Do we make Robyn the villain? The mastermind who pulled the strings until everyone else disappeared? Or do we view her as the survivor? The woman who played the game better than anyone else? Was she the last wife standing? Or the last wife plotting? That's the ultimate twist. That even now, we still don't know if Robyn Brown is the victim of this story. Or the creator of it. The endgame, every story must come to an end. But not all endings come the way we think they will. For years, the Brown family was marketed as a dream. A vision of love, faith, and togetherness. A man at the center, for wives rotating around him, and a community held together through choice. But dreams tend to unravel into illusions. And illusions have a tendency to shatter. The death of the dream, Kody Brown's polygamous dream, is dead. Christine is gone, embracing a new life with a new man. Janelle is gone, discovering freedom in her own power. Mary is gone, creating a life far from humiliation. And Kody? Kody is all left with ruins. A dream that fell apart before the eyes of millions of viewers. An empire that is reduced to barren land and sour memories. The dream is over. And the man who created it stands alone. The rise of Robyn, but in the ruins of that dream, there is one survivor. Robyn Brown. To some, she is the bad girl. The woman who played everyone. The tears that hid her ambition. The player who played the longest game. To others, she is the survivor. The only one who lasted. The sole one who struggled to salvage the marriage. The lady who did what she needed to do to defend her kids. But whatever you might think, one thing is clear. Robyn is the surviving wife. And whether by accident, by guile, or by sheer determination, she owns the story now. The camera eye has moved. The point of focus has changed. And at the end, Kody's empire is now tainted by the shadow of Robyn's survival. The fool's throne, and what of Kody? He occupies the throne of a kingdom no longer there. The self-proclaimed patriarch of a family no longer in tow. The head of a dream no longer inspiring. In pursuing control, he lost everything. In demanding loyalty, he pushed it away. In mistaking fear for love, he was left with neither. And now, the man who once boasted of being the leader of a plural family, occupies the fool's throne. Because the biggest tragedy of Kody Brown is not that he was betrayed. It's that he never realized it was going to happen. The legacy question, so what will the legacy of the story be? Will it be the rise and fall of a polygamous dynasty? The cautionary tale of pride, ego, and controlling behavior? Or will it be the secret story of the woman who survived them all? Will people recall Kody's arrogance? Or will they recall Robyn's tears? Will the family be established by the wives who walked away? Or the one who remained? That's the final score. Not knowing if this is a tragedy. Or a victory. Not knowing if Robyn is the victim. Or the brains. Not knowing if Kody lost. Or if he was merely outsmarted. The role of the audience, and that, ultimately, is what makes this tale so compelling. Because you choose. Every fan theory. Every argument. Every comment online. You choose whether Robyn is a hero or a villain. You choose whether Kody is a fool or a victim. You choose whether the Brown family was a dream. Or a nightmare. This is no longer their story. It's yours. Because as long as fans continue watching, talking about, and analyzing, the tale of sister wives will never really be over. So what do you think? Was Robyn playing a double game the whole time? Was she the brains behind the operation who took down Kody's empire one piece at a time? Or was she just the only one standing when everyone else parted ways? Leave your speculations in the comments, I'd love to read your hypotheses. And if you're not ready to stop uncovering the secrets, the betrayals, and the hidden stories of sister wives, then you know what to do. Click that like button to prove you care. Crush subscribe to be part of our community of seekers of truth. And ring the bell so you never miss an installment of our in-depth dives into the drama. Because trust me, this tale isn't done. Not by a long way. This was She Played Kody Like a Fool, Robyn's secret plan revealed. And the question is, what twist is coming next?